attending this Instant Book webinar. Just a bit of background about why we're doing this Instant Book webinar. We're on a journey in helping the industry to really understand and benefit from what Instant Book can bring. A couple of months ago, we hosted an agents user group. Today, it's a venue user group. And then in March, we'll be doing a very kind of hands-on technical, how does it work kind of meeting. And that will likely be a live meeting somewhere in London. So I'm Karen McPhee. I'm Chief Executive of the Meetings Industry Association. And I'm delighted to be joined today by our panel. And our panel is Amy Russell from Park Plaza Hotels, Danielle Ravenscroft from Leonardo Hotels, and Andy Besant from Leonardo Hotels, and Will Helsby from Venue Directory. Is kind of, in the nicest way, the glue that's pulling this together in terms of how venues can adopt Instant Book, and we'll explore ways that hopefully you attending who aren't using Instant Book can actually start that journey. We're actually joined as well, but not on the panel, by Mika from Meeting Package, and maybe there'll be some questions there from him to us, or maybe we can offer give some questions to you that we may get asked. So as Julia said, we're just going to get a bit of a pulse of who's in the virtual room with a question, and then we'll go into talking to our guests. So thanks for joining, and be prepared to learn a lot, I hope.
Right, so everyone should see something on their screen, and you can just select the option that applies to you.
Okay. So I think everybody has responded. So what we have in the room is 67% of the group, we've got 32 attendees, saying that they haven't started the Instant Book journey yet. So thank you for being here. Hopefully this will really help you to start that journey. We've got 8% who would like to use Instant Book but can't. So maybe they can share that with us, whether they want to do that now or a bit later on in the meeting. And 27% of the audience are currently using Instant Book. So that's really quite insightful. So let's move on. Let's talk to our panel. Let's understand what their journey has been, why Instant Book. So Amy, if I can start with you.
Yeah, hi everybody, I'm Amy. I'm from Park Plaza Hotels. I have been on the Instant Book journey since 2021, just sort of post-pandemic. My role actually changed post-pandemic to facilitate this whole journey of instant booking. So my title is Director of Distribution for Meeting and Events Only. We went live with our instant booking in September 2022. So it was quite a long journey that we went on from start to sort of where we are today. We're certainly not finished on our journey, but we're in a much better place than we were. We have 16 of our hotels, so we're under the PPHE umbrella, which is Park Plaza.
I think we may have lost connection with Amy. Is that the case? If that is the case, can we move on, Danielle, to you, and then Andy, you as well, and then when Amy comes back in, then we can carry on the conversation?
Yeah, sure. So I'm the M&E Group Revenue Manager for Leonardo Hotels, and we started our journey back in 2019. Andy originally started the journey, and then I came on board 2020 during the pandemic, where we really used that time to get our Instant Book platform ready for when the world reopened. Like Amy, we've still got work to do with it. We've got majority of our inventory now live across our 45 M&E hotels via meeting package, but still a long way to go in terms of getting our larger spaces loaded on there. So for us, it's been a long journey, lots of learnings on that journey, would you say, Andy? But I feel like we are in a very good place with it now.
Sure. Hi, I'm Andy. I'm head of sales for Leonardo Hotels for the UK and Ireland. As Danielle said, we've been on in this process for. Can you hear me, Karen? I've just frozen.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry. We've been on this process, as Danielle said, since 2019. I was looking for a tool. We have Opera as our PMS, and I was looking for a tool that would integrate with our website, so that we could have an end-to-end booking process, a true end-to-end booking process for Direct Connect, which is what we've now got. So it allows the teams in our hotels not to have to touch the bookings at all. They go straight through into the back end of our PNS, and then the teams in the operations can pick them up. And that's where the partnership that we built with Meeting Package comes from. I won't lie to you, it's a process that takes time. It's a process that is an evolution, but it's a process that I certainly believe is where the industry is going. In fact, I believe it's going to evolve into larger meeting rooms and eventually into groups as well, so that residential conferences will become part of this. There's already conversations going on with the technical providers to make that happen. I think the first step for us was definitely a direct business into the website. That's where that's come from. What we've learned is a lot of that business is new when it comes in, and there is an amount of people that are booking it. We also found that a lot of those bookings are coming in out of hours, which I know Mika will support as a comment. But it is something that is technology that is there to evolve. So we are still learning, as Danielle said, how to optimize that. But the next big step for us is obviously opening that distribution out through other third parties, and working with some of the M&E agencies that we've got with the market, which is obviously where a big volume of these inquiries will come from. And I think that's the next step, and that's where we'll see the jump in that revenue. But I'm sure, again, Mika would be able to share more details, but certainly the Scandinavian market is miles ahead of us in terms of how they use this technology and how they're working with it. And I think that's if you want to have a look at where we're going, that's the feedback that we've got from that market. So from our perspective, it certainly requires some stakeholder management throughout your businesses, however big or small they are, to get buy-in to it. But the return on investment is definitely there. The agents and our customers definitely demand it. And I think our revenue teams have been on a journey with us to understand the benefits of it, Karen, when you use the tool.
That's really good. Thanks so much. And Amy, sorry we lost you. So let's go back to you. You're with us again. So
here I am talking about technology and it fails me. So there we go. But yeah, no. So yeah, we're there with instant booking for 16 of our hotels across the UK and Amsterdam, and then we are working on the remaining 32 hotels as well. So similar to Andy, we work with Opera as our PMS system. So we have integrated the inventory for all of those 16 hotels. And yeah, it is a journey, and you need a lot of stakeholder buy-in to be able to do that. So I'm hoping what we'll be able to sort of share today is answering a lot of the questions about how we went about that, because I think big groups like us and Leonardo have done a lot of work to get to this point. So hopefully we can pass on a lot of that knowledge, and maybe we've even sort of speeded things up a little bit as well to get to that. And yeah, so my project for this year is to get us connected with Venue Directory, which we're currently working on, and also I'll be putting bedrooms online as well this year, so that will be interesting.
And before we move on to Venue Directory, and Will, have you had business from Instant Book?
Yes, we have. Yeah, so we're seeing a lot of success with it. I mean, since turning it on, we've received just under £500,000 worth of inquiries through the tool, and our conversion level is about 25% in terms of the instant bookings. Some of it still comes in via an RFP. So the technical side of that we can go into in a little bit more detail.
And Danielle, is that similar to Leonardo?
Yeah, so a lot of I think our instant book, because we haven't got as many of the larger spaces on there for RFP currently, if it goes through instant book, the conversion rate is very, very high. Like we said, that out of hours thing especially is very evident in the weekend business that we're seeing coming through those platforms, and it's the new customers that we're seeing as well. So it's people just stumbling across the website or the marketing that we've done, and people have found us. It's new customers that we didn't think we would get through that platform and that channel. So that's been a good success, and then that just feeds out and gives our sales teams more leads for different market segments such as corporate group. It's a whole new line of sales leads for our sales teams as well.
Yeah, really, really good. Thank you for that. It's really great to get that insight and those case studies of, you know, doing that journey and still very much on the journey, and it taking a lot of time and investment. So Will, from Venue Directory's perspective, you know, your journey to now and really helping and supporting, you know, our hotels today, where are you heading? How are you that glue?
How are we that glue? Yeah, hi everybody. Will Helsby from Venue Directory. Yes, you know, we've been on this journey for a number of years now, but I think in the last 12 months, 18 months, we've seen the you know, it's gathering momentum. We've now got over 1,000 venues who open up the Instant Book side of the Venue Directory software. So that's 1,000 venues in the UK. And you know, the opportunities there, the figures we had from last year, just to sort of show how where the opportunity is. Venue Directory delivered over £350 million worth of confirmed meetings revenue last year from the agents that use the Venue Directory software. Of that, over 100 million of that falls into the small meeting category. So that's under 30 people day meetings that was confirmed last year. Now, all of that business went through an RFP process. So it was going backwards and forwards, and you know, a lot of man hours involved in confirming that business. And that's where the opportunity is to reduce, you know, the costs in managing this business and getting that converted as quickly as possible. So yeah, we're there. We've got 1,000 venues using our portal. But my role as partnerships manager is to develop our partnerships with the companies such as Meeting Package, Amadeus, Events 500, people we integrate with, to make this a seamless end-to-end process. And that's what, you know, where our efforts are going. And also, Venue Directory is now owned by Cvent, our parent company, and they're going in the same direction as well, launching Instant Book and all the tools that go with it. So yeah, that's where we fit in.
Thank you. So I'm sure there's some questions to be asked, because you're actually making real headway, I think, in the various avenues, you know, with Amadeus, you mentioned, you know, making those connections and those collaborations will really help for, hopefully, you know, just over 65% of our audience to actually start that journey. So we've touched on this a little bit, but maybe expand. So why is Instant Book important for your organization, and what benefits, you know, do you see longer term? You know, why now? Why take hold of it? Why run with it? Why invest all this time? Andy, over to you, maybe.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've been a believer in this for a number of years now, and as I said earlier, I think that the technology will dictate that this is where we're going, and the fact that our customer base and the agents both want it, and that's not just small local customers, that's big global corporates. I think it's going to happen. I think it's taken a while for the technology to catch up, and if you're coming in, as Danielle said, at this stage, you are benefiting from a lot of work that's already been done to get there. But I think we are very close, and I think 2024 will be a bit of a watershed year for this in terms of getting the connections through the agents. I think once the agents are able to book it, they can see the return on investment and cost of sale benefits of it. Obviously, from our perspective, it's exactly the same. I mean, why wouldn't you want a customer to instead of having to go through the agency process of going, here's 3 venues, I've got to ring them all, then I've got to send them an email, then I've got to get a response, then I've got to go back to the customer, and then I've got to get that response back, and then they've got to have a negotiation. That's all killed, because if you have a good relationship with the agent and they say, well, I know the venues are good, I know they're in the location you want, I can see the availability, do you want to book it now? people are going to say yes, and once they trust the process, and I can tell you the technology works, because I think Amy will support us on that. Once they know that it's working, this is inevitable. So I think from our perspective, we just wanted to get on the train to move forward. And it's interesting to know that Amy is pushing forward with the bedrooms, because I know that technology is there as well, and something that we will have a look at, so that you can actually book a residential group for 50 in a hotel without having to make numerous calls, Karen, as I think any agents that are on this call will and venues will appreciate happens. It goes away, and I think Danielle, I'd be fair to say we get a lot of repeat business as well now, because I think once people have used it, they go, I don't have to call the venue. I can just book it and be done. And I think I have heard some feedback from people saying, well, part of the benefit of speaking to a venue is that you get that extra bits and pieces. But I think that soft touch is there through the system. You can still put any comments that you want. You can still ask for bits and pieces. You can still have a call offline if it's required for anything specific. So we're not killing that communication line. It's still there, but I think people can appreciate that they can check and book. And I think the agents have realised that's the case as well. So for me, it's a no-brainer.
We just, as well, the way that I keep trying to explain it, we're probably 20 years behind the rooms piece. So 20 years ago, if you just said to a revenue manager, put all your inventory online for booking.com to sell, it would have been a very similar reaction. So we're just 20 years behind the rooms journey, and M&E is just catching up. But the way that me and Andy try, and when we ever discussed it, in London especially, you can get a bedroom for £500 on a peak day, no contract, you just book it in, it's done on booking.com or through our own channel. Whereas if it's a meeting room for £150 for 10 people, you've got to ring an office, get a contract signed, where it's bizarre. So it's I think it's just a natural journey. It's just the M&E technology is 20 years behind the room side of things, but now we're slowly catching up.
I'm glad you mentioned contract, Danielle, because that's something that, I've not sort of noted to talk about, but there was a lot of debate about contracting. You can have the best suite in the hotel and you can book it on bookings.com. But if you wanted a small boardroom, you would have to go through a process and have a long contract. Amy, how do you get over that? Do you have a bespoke contract? And I'd be interested from Leonardo's perspective about the contract side of things.
Yeah, I think, well, after the pandemic hit us, I think it just was a real slap in the face, because we weren't fit for the future. And I think that was a really key part that we learned during the pandemic. So yeah, we really changed our way of thinking, and a big part of that was our technology. But yeah, we revamped all of our contracts. So post-pandemic, we had a very fit contract in place that facilitates this sort of small meetings, very short time lead. I mean, most of it is in the month, for the month, maybe sort of 6 weeks. So yeah, it's quite fast paced, but it's also very efficient, because a lot of the bookers now are of this younger generation that they can go on their phones and do everything except book a meeting room, which is one of their key parts of their job. They're being asked at 6 or 7 o'clock at night to book a meeting room for 2 days' time or whatever, and the technology wasn't there for that. So I would say about 70% of the inquiries that we've seen are from, like Andy said, from customers we've never spoken to. Our team are not account managing these people. They're people that are there, they've got the business, but they don't have the facility to book it. So yeah, so we really had to ramp up with that, which has always been our why. And I think when you go on this journey, you have to really remember your why, because there's a lot of negativity, there's a lot of pushback. It's a big commercial decision to move forward with it, depending on how much you want to invest within it. But the why is really important. So really make sure that you're solid with the why on moving forward with it, because it does pay off, but it's not instant. People think that it's instant meetings, instant bookings. It's not instant.
It will be.
But yeah.
Yeah, but it's not instant happening. On the contract side, Will, I know that there was some work being done in creating a kind of a standard contract. Has that progressed any? Because I know that is a key barrier to many to getting on board with this.
It is that there is work going on that, but from Venue Directory's perspective, we have some standard terms and conditions we use, or on the portal, the venues can upload their own terms and conditions, and we just ask for a very, very simple PDF of terms and conditions. And it really is a matter of ticking a box to say you accept the terms and conditions, the booking's been made, payment's been made, and it's just like booking a bedroom. So, you know, there's no backwards and forwards of contracts. Yeah, accept the terms and conditions, done, booked.
And it is the prepayment.
Sorry.
Amy. It's the prepayment element as well, which I think when we originally set it up, I was concerned that it would get pushback on, but because it's so short lead, you'd be expected to prepay at that point anyway. And it's a headache removed for the team. We're not chasing payments. We're not having to get cards. They make their payment online as the booking can't go through. So something that I was really worried about when we started, I thought we might lose business because you have to pay up front, but it's not been a problem, and everyone's using that way of working, and they'd prefer it because then they're not being chased with third-party credit forms, or it's a very slick system in that sense.
And what about cancellation? So if somebody makes a booking and they want to cancel it, can they, because it's such a kind of a last minute booking? Is the ability to do that, or is it once you've booked it, it's there?
It depends on your own terms and conditions, doesn't it? So you can, in terms of the meeting package piece with us, you can cancel it and we'll refund the payment if you're within the terms. But if you're cancelling on the day or the day before, we wouldn't refund that. But we've tried to make it as flexible as possible, and we do just refund. But because these bookings are so short lead, I don't think we've had that instance. I've not heard from any of our teams that that's been a problem or a concern. So because they're such short lead bookings and people are definitely coming, we've not really had a lot of cancellation through it. Have you, Amy?
We haven't seen any cancellations, and I think it would be just the same as if you were to book a bedroom, and if you needed to cancel on the day, you'd maybe call the hotel and see if they can be a bit flexible with you or move your date to another time. So I think we would do it at our discretion, but I haven't come across any major issues with it, because you get full control. That's another really key thing that I think a lot of people don't fully understand with this, that you have full control over your inventory, your T's and C's, what pricing you want to put on there, what cancellation terms you want to put on there. You fully control all of that. So whatever you're happy with, you move forward with that. And you'll see when you put it online, if you're really protective over your space still, you won't get many bookings through it. You have to really be quite fluid and dynamic with it in order to see the benefits of it.
That's really, really interesting. So, here's to hotel groups, I say, doing it well. Who is doing it well? Andy, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, sorry, not. No, that wasn't quite how I was supposed to look. But I was no, my thought process around that is going into what Amy said and what Danielle said. Is I think understanding your occupancy for your individual rooms in each of your venues and hotels is absolutely critical, because I think that really opened our eyes once we did that work. And you'd be surprised from my experience how many don't know, and actually they don't know the lead times for those rooms either, in terms of when they fill and when they don't. And I think once you've got your head around that, it releases some of the revenue thoughts that can constrict this process, because you can say, well, actually, my occupancy is only 25%, and actually I know that I don't fill within the last X weeks. So you can take a bit more of an aggressive approach to what you can offer through this tool, and I think that's a critical piece for stakeholders to understand.
It's valuable advice for sure. So who is doing this well?
When we came on board with it, we're under the Radisson Hotel Group umbrella. So we found a meeting package through Radisson Hotel Group, but through them, the key case studies we used were Scandic Hotels, because they had a really, really robust system, dynamic pricing, which was similar to how we wanted to work in terms of our day delegate rates and our room hire. A lot of inventory, a lot of images. So for us, they were a really key hotel group that we looked at.
Will, you're working with meeting package. We've talked about Scandic Hotels and so on. What does good look like? So
what does good look like?
What's the business that's coming through those hotels?
The venues that have got the integration and a full two-way integration are the ones that will see the benefit over the coming year. And as we said, meeting package. So in the UK, we've got Leonardo, we've got Park Plaza, Claremont, all using that system, and it is seamless. There's others who've been very successful over the last few years as well, like Village. And they're using the Ivy system. And again, that's an integrated system with us. They've been very successful. And there's also Premier Inn, you could state as an example, because they've been doing it for years on their website. It's the only way you can book a small meeting room in a Premier Inn. And I think that's probably been in place at least 10 years. So as one example, yeah.
Interesting. Mika, I'm going to put you on the spot here. So this wasn't planned, but are we jumping? So if we talk about, Scandinavia, are they 5 years ahead or 10 years ahead? What does the future look like?
No, I think UK is catching up. When I looked at the last year's figures, I would say they are 12 months ahead. And good thing is that it's easier to catch up than be the trailblazer. So as Andy and Amy knows very well, and Daniel knows, that takes some time to get one's head around things. And so I would say I would be expecting that UK will catch up by the early next year.
That's really interesting. So I think it's a big thank you, isn't it, to Amy, Andy, and Danielle for actually doing all this hard work and sharing your journey to date, because you have, gone through it and kind of learned, if you like, the pitfalls and helped to make them right, or almost like the test hotels, which is really, really good. So we've talked about so much. There's so many questions that I would like to ask, but I know that we have an audience here who is listening intently. So I'd like to open up to questions from the audience at this stage. So does anybody have any questions of our panel?
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I can't see who it is. So please, if you could just say who you are.
Yeah, sure. It's Rhiannon from Central Hall Venues.
Hi, Rhiannon.
Hello. So it seems like these are really great stories shared from hotels. I represent 3 churches, and we have to vet every piece of business to make sure that it fits with the church's values. Is there anything, because having explored things with Venue Directory so far, it doesn't seem like there's a vetting process where we can soft book and then confirm at a later stage. Has anyone come across this or got any kind of resolution to it?
I haven't seen anything,
Danielle,
that would be within the tool that would allow you to put a set of terms or different types of companies. So for example, we have pharma companies that we use that aren't allowed to say in their terms they can't be within the pharma group, and there isn't a control for that. It'd be a case of the team looking, and if a booking does come through that platform, having the discussion about whether we move a piece of business or we outbook something. So there isn't, you can't put those sort of parameters in saying what you will and not accept in terms of the type of business. The only thing you can do with meeting package is the whole RFP piece. So I'm touching where you don't get an instant book through, but you get an RFP, but that's very similar to what you're getting with Venue Directory already, and you have to vet the piece of business if you want it or not. But I don't know if that's something that you got in the works, Mika, but it's not something that we've come across at Leonardo.
No,
So-
I would agree. I mean, Mika can probably jump in, but yeah, we don't, we see the business, we see the company and things like that, so we keep an eye on that, but yeah, we don't vet.
But I guess Rhiannon, from our perspective, what you're asking for is not really instant book, if that makes sense, because ultimately, if you want to vet customers, then maybe this isn't the right thing for you, because ultimately this is about a customer being able to make that decision and book for themselves based on what you've put out there in the market from an inventory perspective. So it might not be the right tool for you if you want to vet, and I understand why you do.
The only thing that you could maybe do with it is there's an option for corporate rates. So if there's a local market that you're trying to tap into, or a particular client, you can give them codes they can instantly book themselves through the platform. So we've done that with a few of our corporates, and then that way, if you're only giving codes out, you could maybe control it in that way. But that would be the only way that I could think of actually controlling an instant book element.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've tried to explore it a few times and it's all just stalled. And I think the closest we got was the idea that, we use Ivy, so it's really good for us to be able to talk to Village. But because we've got that instant book tool that does come through the web form, if we had that kind of 24-hour just soft book period where we could then take payment once we've okayed it, and we made sure that it fits within the diary and it fits within the values of the church and things like that. So I see what you mean. It's not an instant book, but I would still see that it could benefit us if we just had that kind of initial, even though I understand that that's probably not why people want to use instant book as well, because they want to instantly book it. So it's kind of,
Just
it's a
thinking
hard one.
now, you can with the RFP, there is another function through meeting package where the RFP can come into the system, which I turned off because I was worried about diary management for the bigger spaces. And also I thought we can't stack on top of that because we do like lots of big change, hold, joint first options and things like that. I'd be worried that it would block the diary out, but you can have an RFP drop into your system so that if it's about taking the work away from the team in terms of loading, it can support that as well, if that's something that you wanted to do with it. It's just that we turned that functionality off because I was worried about stacking the diary and I just wanted the instant stuff to come through.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hopefully that's been of help.
Yeah, really helpful. I think I just need to pick up maybe some more conversations with Village and Ivy. But yeah, thank you guys.
Absolutely, and venue directors there, Will's there, Mika's there, so there's lots of people that you can have conversations with. So thanks for the question. We have another question from Dan Humby. How do you instill confidence in customers they're still getting best value even though they don't have the opportunity to negotiate pricing, terms, etc. on an instant booking? How do you instill the confidence? Andy, you're smiling. I'll go over to you first.
my revenue colleagues are probably better placed to answer this question than Amy and Danielle. But I think from our perspective, it's the same with anything. It's supply and demand, isn't it? I think if you've got a competitive rate out there and you're offering the same products that you can purchase when you deal directly with a hotel, then I don't see there's a particular issue there. Granted, it's a bit like a bedroom. If you get your rate wrong and you're not competitive, then maybe someone will go somewhere else. But I think with the sort of timescales that we're looking at in terms of lead times, we don't get pushback, and maybe we're missing that conversation. Dan might be right. Maybe they are looking at it and going, actually, I can get that cheaper around the corner, and we don't know because they're not telling us on the phone call. But I don't think so. I think that people who are booking meeting rooms often booking bedrooms as well, and they're just looking for a price. If you get it right, I think you're probably going to be okay. It's not something that we've run into. I don't know if Amy and Daniel have got different thoughts on that, but that's my gut feel on it.
You can dynamically price, which is something that I am very passionate about. You need to dynamically price. I don't like flat rates every day of the week type thing. But you can connect smart space and it will just pull your smart space pricing through. And Mika, we have our reviews on a monthly basis. We can see our drop through rate as well, so we can see if people are not booking, so we can see what point they get to. And our drop through rate is not massively high, is it? Once they're into the instant book, they do tend to book it once they've seen the pricing. So yeah, it's not, if it was the bigger pieces of business, if we're talking about, I know me and Andy don't always agree on the size of the business that we think is then go through eventually, but if you're booking a conference for 200 in central London, that is a piece that has to be negotiated in terms of rate. And that's when you are moving your rates up and down based on what the comp set are doing or what intelligence your sales team can get. But because of the nature of the business, it's at the moment, it's a maximum 50 people. The biggest book, the majority around 20, 25 coming through. It's never going to be that price sensitive, I don't think, where people are going to put that much time into shopping around for the rate.
Because they just want it. They want to go somewhere. They go. Yeah. They can instantly book it, and it's done. Amy, have you had this? I know you mentioned earlier about a big percentage of bookers you don't know them. So do you have scenarios where you've got existing customers who are like, well, I'm not sure I'm happy in doing this?
So you've got your repeat customers or, your corporate clients. And as Danielle said earlier, you can give them a rate so they can go online and put their rate code in, and that rate is already preloaded. So you can completely control that. For the new customers, the people that we don't know, we're actually trialing something at the moment. So we are allowed to book up to 100 people. So we're a little bit larger in terms of the number that we go to, but we're trying to incentivize the customers to book online. So anything under 20, we're trying to give them a slightly better offer to book online in order to make that more efficient and get those bookings online for us. So actually, that's how we give the confidence to the customer to say you're actually going to get a slightly better deal if you book online. So we've only just started trialing that, so I can give you a bit of feedback on it in the next month or so. But yeah, we're really, really hot on pushing those small 20 and under to get them online. So, but the parity piece is, a lot of people are quite nervous about that, and it's the same with bedrooms. You have to, it depends how you work with your revenue team. We actually have our revenue meeting and events person within the meetings and events team, so she's a little bit more on the meetings and events side rather than the bedroom side. So but yeah, we have dynamic pricing as well, so it kind of depends on how you look at it. But yeah, we're trying to move forward with getting everybody online.
So hopefully, Dan, that's answered your question. So some great feedback there from the panel. If anybody has any more questions, just raise the hand. But what we'll do is we'll just carry on, because I'm conscious that time is of the essence. So in terms of managing instant booking and inventory and so on, how is it managed within your organisation? Do you have a staff member? Is it multiple teams? You just mentioned, Amy, how it works with you. Is AI part of the process? I know Plaza was looking at that. So maybe, Amy, if we start with you and then, move over to Danielle and Andy.
Yeah, sure. So so we work on a dynamic pricing, same as Leonardo. We don't charge the same rates for every day of the week. We sort of flex it. So we have a structure in place that feeds into meeting package, and then it's fed online from there. So that's the integration of that. I think, to take a step back from the detail of it, though, I think I know a lot of people on this call are starting on their journey. So I think what's really key to say is that you really have to involve all levels of the business from the start. I think everybody thinks that this is just a sales thing and it will go away, or, whatever. So from my point of view, I really had to involve, obviously, the people at the top who are signing off all the invoices. Sales, marketing are also a really, really key part of this, because your venue's being visible to all these customers that nobody knows about. That's a really, really key part. So marketing and revenue, you need to make sure that everybody is involved from the start, so they can hear all the pushbacks, hear what the positives are, see how the system works. It kind of gives them more confidence to push it out throughout the business as well. So that was one of my biggest challenges when I started, was getting a lot of people on board and getting them to understand how important this is for the whole business. It's not just a meetings and events piece, because it is going to eventually be, the restaurants will be online, the bedrooms will be online. So it's really important to involve everybody.
And Danielle?
So in terms of who looks after it at our end, so I look after the actual extranet side of things, and then we've now started pushing that out to the individual M&E managers to look after their own pricing, but exactly the same, we upload our pricing. Meeting package are very helpful in terms of getting your content correct and helping us with that whole piece of getting everything live, because if you have got a lot of hotels, I'm not going to lie, it is time consuming initially. So we're lucky that we did a big bulk of the work in 2020 when I wasn't doing a lot else, so, other than cancelling meetings. So it was a great time to get everything and the bones of it there. But as we've got new hotels that we've taken on, it is work to get that bit live. That's the most time consuming part of it. But then once it's live, you're up and running, you don't touch it again, which is the beauty of it. But like Amy was saying, I think get buy-in from every department is so important. I think we did it a little bit under the radar, didn't we? Because we did it in 2020, Andy, and everything was quite quiet. And then we was like, here's the product and this is how it works. But it's still a journey now. And if we get new team members, so we have a new head of revenue, for example, it's explaining again the benefits of the system and showing them. And so it's definitely a journey, and it's a change of attitude. And I think the best way I can explain it is we thought the same thing about rooms technology. We've got to do this. It's not almost a choice. We're ahead of the curve, which is great. But if people don't do it, I just think you're going to be scrambling to do it in 2-3 years' time, because it's going to be just an industry standard.
Yeah. When you say you don't have to touch it once it's installed, if you've got your, sort of blackout dates and things like that, then you have to manage it in terms of, like your revenue manager would manage the accommodation.
Well, you don't have to put You can put blackout dates in if you want. However, if you do your inventory work, so I'm the M&E revenue manager, so my main job is looking at that strategy and looking at our occupancies. If you're confident in that strategy and you make sure that you put all your system in place in line with that, you shouldn't have to be doing lots of blackout dates and things like that anyway, because if you're confident in the lead time piece, you can pretty much just leave it ticking around in the background. But you do have those controls, so we can put rules on. So we've got a lot of rooms, probably like yourself, Amy, that break down into smaller sections. So we've got rules as and when those rooms become available. So I don't want to sell that too far in advance because I want to sell it as a whole. But in the month, for the month, if it's still available, it will open up online and it will break down into the different sections. It's really, even since we started doing it in 2019, there's so many more controls that are in place now, just to make sure you're comfortable with it. So yeah, but once the main content's
it's really
done,
good that it needs little kind of management, the odd maintenance, and it works for you, but you're very much in control. And I think that's a really strong message.
100%, yeah, that was my big worry as a revenue manager, losing that control, which me and Andy had a lot of discussions about back in the day when we first started. But now, like I say, if you do your work on your occupancies, it's a no-brainer. You're not going to damage anything. I've not seen any bookings come through. I'm like, what is this? It's too cheap. It's because we've controlled it all in the first place. So yeah, there's nothing to be worried about in that sense.
Yes. So Will, when you're talking to you know, early adopters, new adopters of Instant Book and how it works, you asked the question about, well, I haven't got the time, who's going to do this? How long is it going to take me? Because it does sound quite daunting, and you guys have been on this journey and, you know, learned and now have adopted it, and it works fabulously for you. But, you know, what advice would you give listeners who haven't yet started the journey?
Yeah, you know, it does sound daunting, but I suppose in a lot of cases we're talking to individual independent venues, and we say, you know, take it make it simple. You know, you only need to put one room on to start with. You know, if you've got one boardroom that's perfect for simple meetings, small meetings, put that on, put your pricing in, keep the availability up to date for probably about 3 months ahead. But it's, you know, it doesn't need to be for the next 12 months because these are all short lead bookings. So it does not need, you know, from our perspective, using the portal, it doesn't need to be a laborious process. But, you know, obviously when you're getting to the scale of Leonardo, Park Plaza, where you've got multiple venues, then that's when you definitely need to be looking at automating the whole process. But we say, you know, keep it simple. Start with one room and go from there.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. We actually think it's easier if you're an individual hotel to get online and move ahead rather than having a cluster of hotels.
Yeah, because my question was going to be about multiple hotels. You know, is it easier if you just have, say, one hotel, you know, a couple of products in terms of rooms, you know, much easier to manage? Andy, anything you'd like to add to what's been said?
No, I think the two ladies are spot on. I think the only thing from a sort of exec perspective in businesses is the resource. And I think Park Plaza have done a smart job with giving Amy that task and saying, right, crack on with it, and they have the resource to do it. And we've struggled a bit, if I'm honest, because we've not had that Amy resource because Danielle has other things to do, which I'm sure Amy does as well. But just as an overall piece, it does help if you've got some dedicated resource for big venues. And we've got over 400 meter rooms, so it becomes a different beast. But if you are a small independent venue, I think the guys are right. It's not a massive amount of work to get that loaded and working through. And I guess the conversation then becomes, you know, why are we doing it? What do we expect out the back of it? Who do we want to pick to be the connections and talking to customers? And that's just a, you know, normal project piece, isn't it, as to which is the best route for you to work down based on who your venue is and where you are.
Yeah, thank you. Just before we move on, that there were 8% attendees in the room who can't actually use Instant Book. Now, would anybody like to share why they can't, having heard the discussion so far? You know, is it something that it's absolutely a no-no, or do they feel now that they can? Even if you want to put something in the chat, it'd be really interesting to hear from, you know, somebody who's in that situation where they just can't use Instant Book. Anybody like to share?
I was thinking, Karen, sorry, while people are thinking about that, I guess I don't know. I mean, I'm getting old now, so I come from a background where there are venues that are using sort of Excel systems and other bits and pieces to manage their bookings, and I get why in that environment, if you haven't got a property management system and you haven't got a website that's got that booking potential in it, I can see, Karen, why it might not be for you, but I think there's probably quite a small number of venues now, or the church piece that was discussed earlier, why there might be some outliers there in terms of how the businesses are run. But
Yeah,
I think generally, if you've got the key technology in the background now, then there's no reason why there are partners you can link up with to make that work for you.
yeah, definitely. And the 65% who haven't started the journey yet, again, if anybody would like to say anything now about how they feel about what they've heard, and if it gives them confidence, and if you don't want to chat, then maybe put it in the chat. But it'd be great to hear from any of you who are in the room. Anybody who is now really keen to start that journey?
Hi, I'm Joe from Arena Racing. Hello.
Hi, Joe.
Hello. We are potentially looking at trialing this across some of our sites. And just listening to you guys, I think the best way for us, because we've got a number of sites, is go one room for each one to decide the availability. Would you say that's the best way for a company like us to move forward with you?
Sorry, Joe, I missed where you said you were from.
Arena Racing Company.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, I mean, obviously it depends internally, but for me, we had 16 hotels. So I actually picked one hotel, one of our smaller hotels, which has 5 meeting rooms. And I use that as my complete test throughout the whole process. So I put those 5 rooms online. They're actually all, they can break down or build up into one space. So I did them on different levels. I tested them on different lead times. So I used that as my complete guinea pig, which gave me the confidence to move forward then with the rest of them. So that was my easiest way to do it.
We did the same in terms of testing smaller stuff first, and we didn't throw everything online in one go. We looked at the properties for us that had that majority of meeting rooms that were most suitable to that type of business. So we didn't put central London on because at the time it was all of our large meeting space. So we looked at who gets a large amount of venue directory inquiries for that smaller type of business, and we went with those ones first. But I think it's important to understand the difference between, at the minute, the venue directory is very different to the whole instant book piece as well. So if you have the instant book piece, which is on your website through like a meeting package, then you don't have to worry about managing the inventory because the system does it for you because of the two-way connection, which I know is coming with the venue directory piece. But yeah, definitely start small and work up.
Yeah, the only thing I'd say, Joanne, is that, I mean, it's not appropriate to talk commercials on a call like this, but obviously there is costs and to this piece. So the only thing I would say to you is you need to be aware that clearly there's costs for doing this, and if you're only putting a small amount of meeting rooms in, it might impact the return that you get in the short term. So if you've got fast-seeing bosses that go, okay, I get this is a journey over a few years, and we need to test it with one venue, then fair enough. But otherwise, you've got to be just a little bit wary and do your homework on what the costs will be, so that you can make sure that you're getting a good return on investment. I always had the view that as long as it wiped his feet to start with, that was good enough, because I believe the technology is going to drive itself over time. But I appreciate not everybody is as relaxed as that, and it just needs to make sure that you've had to think through that and got all the data before you make any calls.
Okay, thank you.
Joe, hopefully that's helped you. Anybody else have any questions? Okay, so we're going to move on and do a quick poll. So over to Julia. We're just interested to get your view on, do you see Instant Book as a necessary service in the future? Hopefully you can see that on your screens. Okay, well, we have 100% of the virtual rooms saying yes, that they do see it as necessary. And as I said right at the start, you know, we as the MIA feel that this is something that we need to be understanding of and help and support our members to adopt, because it is the way forward. And it's great having, as I say, our two hotel groups and venue directory able to share and talk about the experience and the journey to date. So a lot of hard work being done then. We are nearly at the end of our time, so I just wanted to wrap up and thank everybody for attending. Hopefully it's been insightful. It certainly has been insightful for me. Thank you so much to Amy, Danielle and Andy for sharing your journey to date. Yeah, fabulous case studies, and your journey certainly isn't over. And I know that you are all happy to kind of share your journey from here on in with us. So thank you again for that. And we'll thank you for, you know, the collaboration support from Venue Directory. You know, we're on a mission and I feel that, you know, we're going to be able to help a lot of our members in the industry to adopt Instant Book to make the journey easier for supply and buy, because that's what it's all about in this smart world that we live. Some kind of takeaways that I've written down. I've written a lot down now. As Julia mentioned right at the start of the webinar, the takeaways will be on the member portal, on the Instant Book peer group page. And Amy is our chair of that group. So Amy's contact details are there. And as I say, information will be there. And if anybody has any questions, then they can raise them afterwards. But, you know, we have 65% of this room. Is it representative of the industry? Who knows? Who want, who haven't yet been on the journey, but hopefully who want to adopt Instant Book. A lot of the business that comes through is from customers that you don't even know yet. There's time commitment to making this happen, but it's investment when you invest time, because you will get there in the end and you will get some, you know, real results and real business. And a big takeaway is conversions. Conversion rates are higher from companies and businesses you don't know. So there's lots of positives there. So hopefully, you know, we've given you food for thought and helped you in your next step for Instant Book. So before I hand over for any final remarks from the panel, I just wanted to say that we will be doing a hands-on workshop with Venue Directory, with our users, with Meeting Package. Hopefully we'll all be in the room and be able to press those buttons and really understand what it is that makes it work. So we're getting a real look-see before you go on the journey. So that's all from me. I would just like to go round the room and just ask anything else from Will.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. Yeah, just to let you know, we from Venue Directory and our parent company Cvent, we're very committed to getting all these integrations in place. We want to simplify the whole process for everybody, and we need more inventory. We need the availability, we need more inventory. The more of that, the more this is going to be adopted across the agency community. So thank you.
Thanks, Will. Danielle?
Nothing really, just in terms of, as a revenue manager who was very anxious about this at the start of the journey, there is no need to be anxious about it in terms of protecting your inventory. We've only had good things from it, and so as long as you do your work behind it in terms of your revenue work, which should be getting done as a basic standard anyway, there's no concerns with it as a platform, and it's just something that needs to happen in the industry, I think.
Thanks. Amy?
Yeah, I would just say to sort of have the confidence. I mean, before the pandemic, I was a sales manager. So this job, I had no clue, to be honest, at the start, what was going on, what instant booking was. So it was all very, very new for me. So yeah, I'm more than happy if anybody's got any questions, or if anybody still feels really lost or unsure on where to start, please reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help or just offer some guidance or whatever. But yeah, I think it's good that there's a lot of interest, and I think it's good to hear a lot of people want to try and adopt and move forward. So yeah, anything we can do to support, please just let me know. Thanks,
Amy. And Andy?
Yeah, I can only echo Will's comments there. I think from where I'm sitting at the moment, I think that the the big bubble is yet to burst. I think once, and I think it's worth letting everyone know, there are trials in place at the moment with large corporates and big agents in the UK to test this out and how it's going to roll through the different distribution chains that we've got. And that is the big opportunity, no doubt about it. I think anyone on this call who is running hotels and venues in the UK know that the agents make up a massive amount of that inquiry base. And once we can shift that, it's going to really move this piece very, very fast. But it is something that we're still working through at the moment. So I think I think Mika's right. In a year's time, this is going to look a very different space in terms of the business that's coming through it.
Yeah. So in closing, 2 words spring to mind: daunting and exciting.
Yeah, sure.
So the exciting bit has got to win. So let's all move forward with Instant Book. So we have 3 minutes spare. So I'm not going to ask any more questions. I'll give you those 3 minutes back because we know how busy our days are. And great to have you all in the virtual room. And we look forward to continuing the journey. Thanks so much, panel. You've been amazing. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Karen. Bye.
Thank you.